Uncle Scar was a pretty bad, like, adult figure.
Uncle Scar was sexy.
Marge. He literally killed Mufasa.
Who cares about Mufasa? Everyone's like, Mufasa died. I'm like, Scar is bad. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Romance and the Monsters. This week we are discussing another Immortals After Dark book. It's Sebastian's book by Kresley. Did I even say that? But like at this point everyone knows. you should know who wrote the Immortals After Dark series.
Maybe say the title of the book.
Did I not say that?
You did not, and we didn't get to introduce ourselves either.
I'm working on half a brain today, so if I sound weird or I'm like a jumbled mess with my words, more than the usual, you know why. Please bear with me. Anyways, hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Romance and the Monsters. This week we are discussing another Immortals After Dark book. It's No Rest for the Wicked by Kresley Cole, Sebastian's book. Finally, another vampire. I mean, I say finally, like, we read, like, a bunch of books in between. We didn't. We read Nikolai's and then Sebastian.
I think everyone knows your love for vampires.
I'm not getting enough vampires, guys. I just want more. I'm M. I forgot to say that. I'm M.
Hi, I'm S.
I'm Seff. Like, I don't know why I keep waving like they could see me.
You can wave at us. Hi. Hey, girl. Anyways, what did we think of this book?
I've already read it, so I keep my opinion to the end.
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead, S. Go ahead.
Okay, so I like this book in parts.
Ooh.
I don't know if that's okay to say. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Okay.
So I loved it in parts. Like, I love the characters, but I think what I just didn't really click with was the competition. Like, I kind of like, what's the point? But, like, I understood why. I don't know. I guess, like, I liked it in parts. I liked the characters. I liked that Kaderin she felt more human to me, I guess you could say. I know she's, like, human, but she felt more human. Like, we got to see her have emotions and we got to see and understand her backstory, why she is the way she is.
Yeah.
Which is kind of surprising considering how she's like, isn't her name like Kaderin the Cold or whatever?
Yeah.
Like,
the Cold Hearted.
But I think what it is, like, at least in my perspective, what I thought it was that because she was, like, cold-hearted and unfeeling for so long, and then finally her emotions start waking up, I think it's because she's experiencing emotions for, like, the first time in 1,000 years, that's why she felt more human, I think, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. For me, I would say the same, but, I mean, I still very much enjoyed this book, despite the competition aspect of it, which I'm not one for competition books. Like, I find that oftentimes it just takes away from the romance itself, and I'm kind of, I get bored because I don't care as much about the outcome. Like, I'm not here for this.
Yeah.
But I quite enjoyed this one, and I was surprised at the level of angst, I guess you could say. Like, I truly did feel some of the parts in this book. For me, it wasn't as good as the Warlord Once Forever, but I did get some of those feelings in this one as well that I didn't get in A Hunger Like No Other. But yeah, I get your point with, like, the competition for sure. But I ultimately would say I loved the characters and that I still liked this one more than A Hunger Like No Other, which I don't want this to become like every single time we talk about Immortals After Dark. It's like, oh, it's better than that one. I don't like that. I don't like comparing books because, you know, every book is different, especially in the series. Like, they all feel quite different to me.
Yeah.
Like, they're all doing something that the other ones aren't doing. But, you know, it's kind of hard, too, not to, like, say which one is your favorite or which is your least favorite. So, you know.
No, I agree with that. I felt, because I'm reading this book for the second time, I totally forgot.
Oh, so this was only your second time?
Reading this book, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. So you've never reread it before. Okay.
No, I haven't. Because, like, I don't consider it as, like, one of my faves, so I never really went back to it whenever I would, like, do a reread or whatever. And reread would just be, like, my favorites. So, so this one was, I went in again, like, I knew the characters, I knew the general idea of, like, the competition and all of that, but I totally forgot what happened in the end, so, like, that was a refresher for me. But, yeah, I agree with you guys, the competition really, like, it's not really something I enjoy reading about, or it's, like, not something that I go out searching for to read about, like, competition books in general, but, I don't know, I liked the story, but I mean, it didn't touch me as it touched you, Marge. I think just the ending of it, like, you know, like that big part of the story, which we'll get to later on, that was the only part that I felt something for. But I don't know. I just, like, I liked it, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this book was amazing. Like, I liked it. I liked the characters. I think Kaderin was a pleasant surprise because I really thought, like, as you guys said, that she'd be, like, this cold, like, annoyingly evil person, which sometimes, like, the comments that she said to Sebastian were pretty cutting and cold and, like, hurt my heart. Because, like, Sebastian's such a sweet soul.
Yeah.
Overall, like, I liked it, but I wasn't, like, in love with it.
For, like, when I say, there was, like, angst, for the most part, the angst came from Sebastian, I would say. Because of the whole situation with him being turned against his will and, like, how she despises him, and you're like, well, he's different, like, just see that about him, like, he didn't want this, he's not evil, like, don't be mean to him. I know. But so that's for the most part where I have, like, the angst feelings, but I would say, kind of like you said, towards the end, like, the end is pretty dramatic.
It is.
I don't want to jump into the end right now, like, 11 minutes into this podcast, but the end is very dramatic.
It was.
The most dramatic of all of them so far. Because, I mean, spoiler alert, someone literally dies, so.
Okay, can I say
feel
this
like
now?
It was a little confusing, too. Sorry.
Oh, yeah?
So you guys are going to have to...
Okay.
It was towards the end, or close to the end.
Do we just get into it, or...
Can I just say one thing? Are we talking about the end, or we're going to talk about it later?
Whatever you guys want.
No, I'm fine. Or we also didn't do a synopsis of the story.
Oh my god.
We just went in talking about the competition and the characters.
Well, better late than never, all right? Seff, what is this book about?
Okay. So we start off in Estonia, or was it just Russia? I don't know. Anyways, in one of, like...
I don't know, actually.
It's in that area, all right? It's in Russia, Estonia, wherever. Anyways, so Kaderin hears of this vampire that's been, like, haunting this castle for the longest while, and she goes and she's like, okay, gotta kill the vampire before I start preparing for the Talisman's High, which is, like, this big competition that happens every 250 years, and it's just finding these artifacts and special items for this goddess Riora. I don't know how you say it. Anyways, so at the end, the winner wins, like, this, like, priceless prize, and it's just, everyone wants it because of how, like, amazing it is, I guess. Anyways, so she meets the vampire in the castle, and that happens to be our Sebastian Wroth, who happens to be one of Nikolai's brothers, one of his estranged brothers, because Sebastian, as we find out, did not want to become a vampire and very much hates his existence and hates being a vampire and is just basically waiting to die. And it's just, like, it's so heartbreaking, like,
he
reading
is waiting
his inner thoughts.
to die. Like, that right there is something I love in romance novels. Sorry, I just literally cut off the synopsis halfway through just to say this, but when the hero wants to die, or the heroine, whatever, when one of them is just so angsty and is like, there's nothing left in this life for me.
But it's so sad.
It ends here, and you're like, no, don't die. You're gonna find love and be happy again.
I know. And then his love literally finds him in Kaderin, and then he's like, wait, this is like the infamous bride I've been hearing about that I'll have one of these days. And then
they literally blooded each other, is what
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
They did, because, she blooded him physically, but he, as she also said, that he made her feel emotionally, so I loved that. I thought that was so
because
cute.
she had a curse on her or something like that, right? Like I don't know, I don't remember what she calls it, but he essentially, like, removes that for her.
Yeah, so she no longer is just cold. She starts feeling emotions, and she starts grieving about, like, her past, like, with her sisters dying, and then she starts feeling lust, which we open the book up with such an intense scene.
Yeah, is a recurring theme in the series so far of, like, it's fated mates, blah, 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 and, like, the guys finally find their one true mate, but the opposite is also true for the women in this series, because so far we've had Emma, who, when she meets Lachlan, she's like, I've never experienced pleasure before. Mm-hmm. Like, she's never felt sexually attracted to anyone before, at least that was my understanding of like, her story, and he's the first to finally make her feel. And then there was Mist, who had the chain, and, like, Nikolai was the only one who was ever able to break it, so he essentially broke her punishment. Yeah. And then in this one, it's Sebastian and Kaderin, and Kaderin was, like, unfeeling until she met Sebastian, who broke her curse, too.
Exactly.
So it's like a recurring thing.
Which
so
I think
far,
is, like, I feel like needed, because they are mates. And, like, not just on the male's perspective, but also on the female's perspective. And, like, I love that there's, like, that equal balance between the two.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not just important for the men. Like, oh, he's finally found his mate. Like, no, you feel how important it is for the women, too. Like, they, too, are gaining something out of this.
Exactly.
Anyway, go back to the synopsis.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where you were.
Anyways, so some intense, lusty things happen, but then Kaderin wakes up and is like, actually, no. I hate vampires. Yeah. I do not want to have sex with a vampire. And then she, like, bolts herself out of there. She's just, like, gone. And poor Sebastian's like, I finally have a meaning for life now. I have my bride. I need to find her. I need to be with her.
And he walks outside in the sun and burns for her. This is what I mean when I say angst is always, like, Sebastian. Like, I was like, whew. Damn. Plus, like, you just hear about, like, Nikolai wondering where his brother is. And then he just learns that, like, your brother is outside burning right now.
I love that part with Nyx.
Yeah.
That whole little situation where she's telling him where he's...
I fucking love Nyx.
I do. Right? Okay, I was going to ask you guys how you felt about her. But I love that Valkyrie so much.
I mean, I love her because, at this point in time, I've read the next book, too. So... I love her even more because
because I think she had a bigger...
She has a big role in that one. Anyways, love Nyx. Yeah. So then,
Kaderin is entering the high, and then we also see Bowen, who is our hero, or I guess our main male character, we'll say, of book 4 or 3, however we look at it. And then... Also, Sebastian decides to enter the competition, and then, basically only enters it because he wants to impress, and...
he wants to win it for her. He's so old-fashioned.
I know, and then I love how Kaderin's like, nuh-uh, this is not how it works. I've been winning this for the past thousands and thousands of years. Like, no, this is my competition. Stand back, boy. Yeah. I just love it. And, like, I don't know, I thought it was so funny when, the nymphs were, like, they turned back into logs, and then you just hear their little, like, voices as they were, like, checking out Sebastian, and, like, as Sebastian was talking to Kaderin, and, like, they're like, ooh, what happened with Valkyrie and the vampire? And I'm like, what the heck? We're just hearing them talk through logs. I just thought it was so funny. The story continues on, and then we have the whole, competition going on, and it's pretty intense and gruesome.
It is. But they can't kill each other, so is it though?
But I mean, they could die momentarily and come back. So, like, you still are killing them.
Bowen is rootless in this competition, which, for reasons, right?
So the big prize of this competition was a key that allows you to go back in time to alter anything that you needed to alter. So Kaderin wants to go back in time to save the sisters that were massacred by vampires, which is why she hates vampires so much, is that she lost her family from them. And then Bowen, who joins the competition because he wants to go back in time to save his mate from dying. So, I mean, he has a lot invested in this competition, and I felt like reading his helplessness in the end and like throughout the series, not throughout the series, but throughout the book, it's just like, it's so sad because he like really needs this key to find his mate, and it's just like heartbreaking. I just love Bowen, guys.
So my question is, how relevant are those sisters to the rest of the series?
Oh,
do they actually get books, or are they just
no? Because I forgot about them.
You forgot about them?
Yeah, I didn't even remember her saving her sister. Spoiler.
So I almost wish that, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but I almost wish that like the climax of the book would have been them giving up the competition, because why go in the past then? Like, why go in the past to retrieve your sisters when, like, I don't know, there was I felt weird about it. I don't like messing with
Did you
time.
want like some type of like purpose of them coming back?
Well, I mean, if they were going to be, you know, characters like have their own books somewhere down the line, then I'd be like, okay, but because it created this weird thing where they had to like essentially be modernized, like they had to learn like how to speak, and like it created like a little bit of drama because they weren't cool with Nikolai being in the picture. And I kind of just wish that the decision had been like, let's not change the past, you know what I mean? Like, the past is the past, let's just move forward.
No, I totally agree with that. And I didn't like how quote unquote like happy ending it was, because I felt like, you know, that's literally Kaderin's dream, was to save her sisters, and she got it, and then we're like all happy, we're all together, and then obviously Sebastian now can go into the past and save his family that had passed away. So it's just,
well, no, he can't because they used
no
both.
At the end of at the end of the book, Leora sent the key.
I didn't like that. Why would he want to go like, I just let the dead people stay dead unless it's Kaderin. Like, I liked that she died, and like, it would have been more angsty for me if there was only one time you could use the key, and he had to use it on her because she just died. And like, then it's like angstier because she's like, no, I was supposed to use that for my sisters, and then she can't use it anymore and no one can. And like, that would be much angstier to me.
Yeah. But I also feel like it was, okay, for me, it's like, I don't think Kaderin would reach that ultimate happiness if she didn't find a way to save her sisters, because in her head she believes it was her fault, and she wouldn't let herself fully feel that happiness and that love that she felt with and for Sebastian. I felt like that was why we had to go back and save them. But yeah, I agree. I think it should have been a one-time thing. But I also feel like the angst came after, when Sebastian was like, she's gonna forget me, but at the same time I'm letting her choose her happiness. Like, he's choosing her happiness over his own, and I'm like, this is the angst. That was the angst, I think.
That was the angst that we all needed. Of him being like, it's fine, she'll come back, but she'll forget about me, she won't even know I exist, but it's all right because she's happy and that's all I want. And I was like, baby.
And I think like Kaderin needed to see like that's how much he loved her. It wasn't just about like her being his bride. It was, he fell in love with her and wanted her to have the ultimate happiness that she's dreamed of having.
Yeah, I feel like that went like above and beyond.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I just like his character like surprised me. I'm not, as you said, like I've already said this, but I'm not someone that goes for like the sweet soft boy type. But Sebastian,
he was a sweet soft boy type. You're right. Like, I didn't think about that.
He was, and very romantic.
He was very clumsy when he was a human too. Very clumsy. Very.
Oh, he was such a big dork.
Like
I forgot.
a big virgin, you know.
Yes.
I love that
Because
about
he's
him.
so big. I love how he's just so big, and he's always been like really self-conscious of that because of like how women treated him because of his bigness.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
and
sorry.
how they feared him.
If hot Sebastian, hulking, hot, muscular, beautiful man that, you know, as he's described as, came up to me and is like, can I lift your skirt? I'd have been like, yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Take me.
No, right? And then like that scarred him. Don't want to get into like
know.
who's the monster yet, but like that scarred him for real. Like it follows him in every single one of his encounters with a female character, not just Kaderin, but literally any female he meets. Like he's always very aware of himself and like his body and how he comes off as, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, like, I don't know, I feel like we're jumping around all the time.
Yeah, we totally are. But when are we not?
Okay. But I will say, like, when he finally, like, because we start off with this book with him hating who he is and hating that he was a vampire until the point he reaches that he sees, like, disgust on Kaderin's face. And he's like, you know what? Enough of that. No, I love myself. Like, you can go on hating me, but I love me, and that's all that matters. And I was like, Sebastian, yes. And, like, it's just, like, that's, like, his turning point. And that's when, like, he becomes such an amazing man and character. I was rooting for him from the beginning. And, like, finally, he started, like, being comfortable in his sexuality and comfortable in who he is as a vampire. And it's just...
That's, like, you know who Sebastian actually reminds me of?
Who?
Emma. Because they both had very low self-esteem, and they both had to prove to themselves that they were capable and worthy. And for me, again, there I go comparing them, but like for me, when you compare the two, I saw the progress that Sebastian went through better, of him understanding, no, yeah, you know what, I'm totally worthy even if she doesn't think so. Like, I'm capable. I'll win this for you. Just watch me. You know what I mean? Which was, if you listen to the A Hunger Like No Other episode, was one thing I struggled with. It was like, for me, Emma's worth was always tied to Lachlan. And I know you're not like super, well, I mean, you're allowed to disagree, but like, for me, I never fully got the impression that she could have like stood on her own, if that makes sense. Like, she was just kind of tied to
Sebastian,
him.
he did it for himself, and for her, it was connected to Lachlan.
Yeah, kind of. Because he was so into her, whereas in this one it was the opposite, where Kaderin was still very against him, and he was like, you know what, fuck that. Like, I'm not gonna stand for that.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like Emma was independent to a point in the end. Like, I don't know.
She was.
So I feel like, I mean, I get your comparison between Sebastian and Emma, but I felt like Sebastian's growth as a character was more visible to us because he was more vocal about it. Whereas, like, Emma was more, like, in her actions, she became more independent and started loving herself.
Yeah, here's where I think the difference is. For Emma, my issue is that she started noticing her own worth because of Lachlan's attention. Do you get my point? By the end, she was, you know, fully, like, she was fierce and badass and, like, doing all the things, but I feel like her journey started with his appreciation of who she is, as opposed to, in this book, being the opposite.
But didn't that happen with Sebastian as well? He realized his worth as a person, that, like, his life had meaning because of Kaderin, and then he also realizes, oh shoot, I'm worth more than what anyone else ever thinks of me because of Kaderin, because of her, like, constant rejections. So, in part, their growth as characters were because of their mates. At least in how I see it.
I mean, it's not inherently a bad thing. Like, I don't want to sound like it's a bad thing. Like, I understand that sometimes, the opinions of other people do affect how you feel about yourself. Like,
100% agree.
So, I'm not saying it's inherently a bad thing. Like, if you feel desired, you feel good about yourself. Like, that's just a thing, you know? If you don't feel desired, then you kind of feel like you're invisible and no one sees you. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. To me, they read differently. I don't know. Maybe it's just because one of them is a man and one of them is a woman. And, like, obviously we experience life differently. So, are we done with the synopsis or did I cut you off again?
I mean, it got cut off, but at the same time, I feel like people got the general idea of, you know, what this book was about.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. But as I said, it wasn't, like, my favorite story. But Sebastian was a big factor as to why I enjoyed this story. Because I just felt like his character was just so, like, this, like, Kresley Cole's known for writing these big alpha men that know the best and, like, only thinks about their females. But at the same time, she, like, writes them as, like, strong characters. Whereas, like, Sebastian is very strong, but I also felt like he was so vulnerable and, like, was so sad. He had to, as we said, grow as a character. But, like, also, like, he was more considerate, I think, of his female than a lot of other characters that, like, Kresley Cole's written about.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
And I feel like it had to do a lot with his experience, too, right? What he went through when he was a human and then what.
When they have sex and then she rejects him, he's like, what did I do wrong?
I know.
Like, right away he thinks he's done something wrong or that she's afraid of him or she despises him or she didn't like what they did or whatever. And I'm like, it's not you.
And then she kind of questions that too because he kind of held back when they were making out, I think in the beginning. She kind of questions that, right? Like, why did he stop? Like, why did he hesitate?
Yeah. He's just such a sweet, soft, considerate boy who happens to be a vampire.
And usually we don't like that type. And
exactly.
Yet here we are. So, I mean, I feel like that's a testament to his character. I just love. Let's just get into the ending because
the ending. Like, here we go.
That's like the what's the expression like this what am I trying to say, like the big thing in the book, like the
climax,
no, like what makes it better. Does that make sense? What am I thinking of?
The highlight.
I guess, yeah. I'll use that one. That wasn't the one I was looking for.
Oh, sorry. I'm not in Marge's mind to pull it out of your brain.
So let's get into the highlight of this book, the ending. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Kaderin dies.
And it was so heartbreaking.
Okay, so that's where my confusion comes in. Because so let's start. So I remember.
Can we explain the scene first and then you.
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like if we, like, you know, try to explain it, it kind of loses the impact of the scene.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So they're looking for something. So they're looking for the final. Is it the key? Are they literally? Yes, they're.
No. It's not the key. No. It's the final. Final item that Riora wants, and once she gets it, they get the key.
Okay, so this item is located in what they call essentially where immortals go to die. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, I understood it as like a cave where there's like a fire dragon or whatever.
Yeah. No.
And there's like lava, and anyway, it's like very intense. And Kaderin goes, and she's been told by Nyx, who Nyx has never foreseen the death of any of the Valkyries, but in the case of Kaderin during this story, she calls Kaderin and is like, you're gonna die. And Kaderin is like, oh, okay. Which, again, adds angst to the story, which I liked. Anyways, so Kaderin goes despite knowing that that's the day she will die.
But not before Sebastian, once he drinks her blood, he gets her memories, which we know.
True.
And he sees the conversation with Nyx.
Wasn't that in the beginning?
What, when he drank her blood?
Yeah.
No, it was drinked. Is drinked a word? Drank. When he drank, that's the past tense.
Isn't it in the beginning when he drinks some of her blood by mistake?
Yeah, no. Okay, so he, like, nicked her, and he took some of her blood, but then, was it when he was healing, or was that in the end? I don't know. Anyways, so I think because of that little nick, he got, like, a lot of her memories, and then he also happened to see her conversation with Nyx, that she's gonna die the next full moon, which happened to be the day or the night of the last activity in the competition.
Full moon?
Yeah, it was supposed to be the full moon.
Okay. Can I just say, I'm getting ahead of myself, but can I just say I loved the scene where Kaderin learns that she's gonna die? I thought that was so... realistic, like her reaction. Like she's shocked, and at the same time she's like, whoa, like I don't know, I really felt for her in that scene.
Because I felt like she was like, I've lived for so long that if it happens, you know, it happens. And, like, I think she, like, also was sad about it, which she also talked about. Yeah. That, like, she wished she had more time with Sebastian because, you know, she found him when she was about to die, and, like, that was so heartbreaking.
So she goes, even though she knows she's gonna die. And then Sebastian learns that she's going to die, and then he teleports there to, like, help her out.
No, hello, you're getting the scene wrong. So what happens was, he finds out that she's going to die from her memories, and then he's obviously heartbroken because he's like, he can't lose his brides. You know, he can't lose her. Anyway, so he locks her up with the chains on her bed, and he's like, you're not going, because if you go, you're gonna die. And she's like, bitch, no, I'm going. And, like, literally is like, these chains are only enchanted for vampires, and, like, literally, like, snaps out of them, while Sebastian is trying to get a plane. Yeah, he was gonna win the competition for her, but at the same time, she already went, she's already there, and he gets there in time to see her on the cable, on her way to get the last item, and then that's when the drama happens.
Because the cable breaks, the dragon comes out or whatever, and Kaderin falls.
But not before him holding her hand and begging her to hold on, and then she's like, I'm gonna let go now. And then that's when my tears start. But then also he's trapped beneath boulders, and, like, he can't give his, like, all his strength to pull her up. And, like, guys, can I say, so last night as I was reading it, I was listening to, like, intense dramatic instrumental music, and, like, it just happened to click in at the same time that, like, Kaderin's dying in, like, the pit, and I'm like, the music was so emotional. And I'm there, like, crying.
This is why reading and listening to music at the same time is, like, perfect sometimes. Like, it just enhances the experience.
Yeah, and I feel like Kresley Cole's such a great writer. Like, her imagery is just, like, so, like, there, and, like, you just see the scene play out in your head, and you're like, wow. Like, I honestly thought I was watching a movie because of how dramatic my mind was at that point.
It was by far the most intense ending of any of the books so far, I would say. Yeah, right?
I thought that was a really good ending.
Oh yeah, the only thing is that then Kaderin dies, and Nikolai is like, I wish he'd had, like, a more intense reaction.
You mean Sebastian?
Yeah.
You said Nikolai.
I'm still not over him, what can I say? They are brothers, though. So, I wish Sebastian had had a more intense reaction. Like, he didn't really have one because he knew of the key. But I kind of wish he had given him, I don't know, like, a paragraph or two to, like, swim in his own grief.
No, I agree.
Whatever. Like, be a little bit emo for a little while and then come out of it and be like, no, I'm gonna get the key and I'm gonna get her back.
Yeah, because I felt like he had that moment where he's like, oh no, I can't lose my bride. But at the same time, he also didn't believe that the key would work. So I felt like him having a more emotional reaction to her death would have been, I think, in my eyes, better. Because I felt like I needed to feel that phantom heartache syndrome, you know? Like, I needed to feel that kick in. Yeah. And, like, while I was feeling emotional because Kaderin's dead and I forgot how it, like, played out. And then we have Bowen, like, barreling his way. And it's like, I'm going to get the key. And, like, that was dramatic in itself.
Bowen's reaction is more intense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, he thinks that this is his way of getting his mate back, and it's ripped away from him, and his reaction, I was feeling it. Like, I felt for him in that moment, because throughout the whole book, like, Bowen is really present in this book, and you really start feeling for him. I was intrigued in A Hunger Like No Other when he was there, but this book really...
Yeah.
I don't know, it really made me interested in his story, because by the end you're like, wow, this boy is broken.
Because I also feel like it's down to...
I don't know how he's gonna come back from this.
Because I also feel like it's down to the fact that he's been alone for, like, how many hundreds of years. And it's like, he was so close to touching his mate.
Thousands.
And then
he's been alone for over 1,000. Like, he's 1,200 years old or something like that.
So yeah, it's been so long, and he's like, I can finally go back in time to save my mate. I failed in saving my mate. But then that chance is ripped away from him. He even offered Sebastian, like, you use it once, you save Kaderin, and then I'll save my mate. And then Sebastian's like, no, I need both chances.
Pause. I need to correct myself. He's 1,200 years old, but he lost his mate 200 years ago. So you're right. It's only been a couple hundreds.
Anyway, so this comes down to your question, S. What was your question about the end?
So, okay, so that part, you kind of answered it, because I remember him locking her up, and then she does get out, right?
Yeah.
Because it kind of felt like a dream when she was, at least that's how I read it, as if it was kind of like a dream where she was caught in the lava. And when she, like, lets go.
I mean,
it kind of felt like
it might have been written that way just because maybe she wasn't, like, she didn't fully understand what was going on, or, like, fully realize what was going on, maybe. So maybe that was why it felt that way. I don't know.
Maybe. And then just the fact, or the way she came back.
Oh, yeah.
And then the way, that goddess kind of explains everything with the keys. And
yeah.
So that part kind of, I guess, kind of confused me. Like, did it really happen? Was it a dream? Was it just... You know.
I never understand time travel, okay, guys? I love Doctor Who, I do, but I never understand time travel.
It's cool, though.
Yeah.
I adore the scene where, even though I don't particularly like that they brought the sisters back, I adore the fact that he sees her on the battlefield, like, past her, and he's, like, looking at her, like, entranced. And then he sees, like, that she's battling some vampire, and he, like, kills someone that's about to, like, whatever, and then she's like, oh, don't worry about past me. Like, I killed that dude in, like, 5 seconds.
I know. I loved Kaderin. I love how badass she was.
Because he was gonna help her out, like, help out her past self. I just love it.
But can I also say, I've already said it, but I'll say it again. I love how dorky and nerdy Sebastian was. Yes. That he got so turned on by Kaderin's brain when she was, like, explaining, like, time travel with him, and, like, they were talking about it. Yeah. And I'm like, I love that he's so turned on. He's like, he finds her brain so attractive, and I'm like, why can this be, like, more of a common trope in romance novels? Like, I love that he's so attracted to it.
I wrote down a note that says, I adore the scene where they both discover they're total nerds.
Because, yeah, they were. And I was like...
They were just, like, back and forth, like, stuff that I couldn't even understand. And I was just like, you know what? You're cute. Like, you understand each other. That's all that matters. Even if I don't understand.
Right? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But, like, you guys are cute, so carry on. But, S, what did you think of, like, Bowen, like, in this book? Like, did he stand out to you? Like, how did you feel about his character?
I felt for him with his situation and him trying to retrieve the key for, you know, to get back his what is it? No, he's a lie case of what is his mate?
His mate.
But I don't know, I'm not as, like, I don't know, as excited to read his book. Like, I'm interested, but it's not, that excitement's not there yet.
Have you figured out who his mate could be?
No. Was there a clue in this book? Was there a bit of a clue where you're just like, oh?
I mean, things happened.
Do you know that the next book is Bowen and Mary Kidda?
She didn't search it up.
Oh.
But yeah.
No, I didn't. Like, no, I haven't read none of the synopsis or anything like that.
Okay, so it's Mary Kidda and Bowen.
Yeah, the witch that cursed him to not be able to heal is his mate. Well, I mean, and not the mate, but, like...
So that's why it overlaps. That's why Bowen's book and Sebastian's book overlap, because part of Bowen's plot takes place in this book. Mm-hmm. And then goes forward.
Okay, so since you already read it, does the competition, is it a huge part in his book?
But not for long.
Yeah, not for long.
Or, like, I don't know, like 20-30% of the book, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
Roughly? I don't know.
No, yeah. And then you get to see what happens to, like...
After.
Yeah, like, after that. And also, like, you'll see. It's really good. And, like...
The repercussions of Bowen's actions. That's what you get to see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can we talk about the scene where she goes to a club
to
seduce the cartel men, and he comes, and Sebastian comes, and he is, like, uber alpha, like, no shit's taken by that point. He's so jealous, and I was squealing.
Yeah, and then that's when he's like, if you sleep with this man, if you leave with this man, know that I'm gonna sleep with all of the nymphs here. Just know it.
Yes.
But, like, it's heartbreaking because she, like, kind of thinks that he's gonna sleep with the nymphs because he had to leave. She had to leave.
He thinks she slept with him. She thinks he slept with the other women.
Yeah.
It's just, it's great. And it turns out
Neither
they
of them
didn't.
Yeah. I love a little jealousy, jealousy game that they had going on.
The jealousy. He's like, why are you dressed like that? Why are you here? Why are you next to this man? Why do you want to fuck this man? You shouldn't be fucking anyone but me.
And then, like, what also killed me, like, I'm bringing back, like, the beginning, like, also talks about, like, his, like, not shaming of her outfit choices, but, like, he just, like, lacks the understanding, like, oh, this is kind of, like, the modern clothes of, like, today's day and age.
Yeah.
And, like, when the nymphs, when he was, like, questioning Kaderin with her short-ass skirt, and then, he's like, why are you dressed like this? And then, like, you hear the nymphs, like, in the woodwork, and they're like, oh, no, he didn't. And then, like, the other nymph was like, he did. I'm just, like, dying. I'm like, these little, like, tidbits of, like, humor in the story, like, it just, I don't know, Kresley Cole's good at, like, the sarcastic humor and, like, the little quirky humor. Like, I think she's so good at that.
Yeah. And she's also great at starting her books exactly where they need to start.
Oh.
Like, I feel like 4 books in, I feel confident saying that she always goes straight to the action. You know what I mean? Like, it starts exactly where you would want it to start, and you're never like, oh, I wish it had started like later, or I wish it started sooner. Yeah. Like, you never miss out on anything. Like, she knows exactly what her readers want to see. She knows what's exciting about the pairing, and she's like, I'm gonna give you exactly what you're asking for here.
Yeah.
And then this book was like exactly that. Like, it starts off right away, like first chapter, first page, they meet. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we like. We don't like a book that takes forever for you to get to the exciting parts, you know?
No, I agree. And I think it's also due in part that, like, yeah, they do meet, and yeah, they find out that they're mates, but I feel like it's still a long road for them to get to that point where they're like, yes, we're together. So I feel like, yeah, it makes sense that she starts, like, as you said, in the action, because, like, who cares about, like, before?
Exactly. Who cares? Yeah. And you know, so many books, especially in paranormal, obviously, you know, part of the plot is them not knowing their mates or whatever, and then they finally learn that they are, whereas I feel like she's kind of going against that here. With them learning right away what they are, or not always, but, you know, most of the time learning right away what they are, and then it's about accepting that.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you have to overcome some things about yourself. You have to learn to love yourself before you can accept someone as your mate. And that's kind of the plot of every single one of these books.
Exactly. But anyways, this brings us to our question. Who do you think is the monster of the story, or who or what is the monster of the story?
Well, I think for Sebastian, for him, the thing that he definitely needed to learn to love was himself, and, like, his new self.
Yeah.
Like, learning to let go of the past, essentially, of, like, what happened and what he became, and, like, actually, which it actually reminds me of the scene where Kaderin finally, which is kind of like, what's the monster for Kaderin? Kaderin's monster is, like, her hatred of vampires and I love the scene where, on page, like, her learning to love what he is, or, like, accept what he is, maybe not love, but when she brings him blood, knowing that he's weak, which is just, like, showing on page that she's learning to forget that part of him, or, like, learning to accept it. But what do you guys think? I feel like I didn't word that very well.
I get it. It's like, that was her turning point, and, like, yeah, he's a vampire, let me get him food because, you know, we had a great night last night, he's probably tired and hungry. Yeah, I get that she, you know, hates the vampires and everything that they stand for, because they killed her sisters, and because, like, they've just been their enemies for thousands and thousands of years. But at the same time, I just feel like it was just so hard to swallow. Like, it's who he is, and, like, he learns to love himself as a person and as a vampire, and, like, accepts that that's his future now. Like, he's forever going to be a vampire. That's not going to change. I think it's just, like, I don't know. I felt like, I don't know. Like, she just hated him for so long and for, like, so hard that I was just like, he can't help who he is. And it's like, being a vampire is who he is. And you can't really change that. So I think, yeah, going in the past to save her sisters, like, it was a big part in fully accepting who Sebastian was, because she hates vampires for a good reason, but it's also, like, it was hard to read about because Sebastian isn't like other vampires, and, like, she wasn't, like, moving on that idea that vampires are all the same.
I love the morning after when like he wakes up and she's not there and he's like, oh, okay, so this is it, you know what I mean? Like, he thinks that she didn't like it or whatever, and then he sees her letter and he reads, like, her little note, and he's
the little XO,
he's like, oh, we're on.
Yeah.
Like, that for him is, like, the confirmation.
That was cute. That was a cute moment.
And then he goes after her, but then Bowen finds him and, like, pushes him off a freaking cliff, and then, like, he's drowning and burning for days.
I know.
And Kaderin is, like, off fighting and finding other items for the competition, and she's like, why is he not coming to help me? And then he arrives and he's like, I was just freaking drowning for days, like, that's why I wasn't here.
Yeah, they grew to be a cute couple, I will say.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
But
they're believable to me.
I agree as well. Yeah, they are believable. So yeah, I agree with your, like, the idea that the monster for Sebastian, like, is his past and overcoming, you know, who he is. That was his monster, because I felt like he would not, I don't even think he would have ever overcome it if he never found Kaderin. But yeah, and her monster is her past. Like, I think that's what I came out of the book thinking.
What's interesting is that for Nikolai, he too had to accept what he was, but in the sense of thinking vampires are monsters and thinking that he's not supposed to drink blood or whatever. So that was part of the story for him, and it's similar with Sebastian but different, because for Sebastian it's like one layer deeper, because it's not just the vampire aspect of him, it's the physical aspect of him. Like, his size, his body, like, he feels like he constantly needs to hide who he is, whether he's a vampire or not. Like, he felt the same even before being turned. So I thought that was interesting, how it's like one layer deeper.
Yeah,
for
I
him.
agree, but it's also, he never wanted to be a vampire, so he was turned against his will, so that's another added layer. And this brings me to my next question is, what did you guys think of, like, Nikolai and Sebastian's reunion? Because, like, Nikolai was the person who did turn him against his will because he couldn't bear being alone and couldn't bear being without his brothers. So what did you guys think of his character in this story, and, like, seeing Sebastian's perspective on how he was turned and, like, their reunion? Because I feel like when stories are told in a different perspective, you see a different way. Because I felt like in Nikolai's book, it was more of, like, he felt like he was doing the right thing. And then in this book, you realize maybe he wasn't.
He was a little, maybe it kind of seemed a little selfish.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
It's all about perspectives, right? Like, I love that, because she's really playing with perspectives of, you're reading one book and the character does one thing and you're like, what? You're wrong doing that. And then you read that character's book and they explain why they did it. And you're like, no, you know what? I kind of get where you come from. It's kind of like Bowen. Like, he does a bunch of horrible things in this book. But then you're like, but I also understand why you're doing this, but you're hurting these other characters. Like, I love that she's not scared of like, just playing with perspectives and reminding you that what you think is right could also be wrong according to someone else's opinion. You know?
No, I agree. And, like, I felt like Sebastian's, like, actions when they first met were justified, because, like, we only know Nikolai as, like, the sweet, noble, like, general who loves Mist to no end.
Sweet? My Nikolai's not sweet. I don't know who you read about.
No, I mean, like, in the sense where, like, you know, he's there for Mist, and he only just cares about his brothers, right? Mist and his brothers, that's all he cares about. But then in this book, you realize Sebastian's been harboring, like, hate for Nikolai for years, hundreds of years. And it's like, it's not going to go away. And, like, I think they can learn to move past it, but yeah, now Sebastian is grateful that he's a vampire because he gets Kaderin, but at the same time, it's still, like, that hate is embedded within him because he's hated Nikolai and Murdoch for hundreds of years. And, like, I just thought it was, like, I loved, yeah, as you said, Kresley Cole's take on perspective and, like, how she includes them in her stories, I think are, like, the way she does it is phenomenal. And I think you realize also in her later books, so in Bowen's book, when you get his perspective on the competition, I feel like it was a different take. So you're not rereading the same situations in the story. And, like, so you see, like, his perspective and you're like, oh, all right. And then later on in the other books, you also see other situations play out in different books with different perspectives. And, like, I love how she does that and, like, brings something new each time she talks about perspective and, like, gives another perspective.
I said this before in the last podcast, but I'll say it again. Like, I appreciate that whenever she puts something on the page, she's very aware that that thing can be explored in various ways, and she always does. You know, some writers would be like, oh, I'll just have a competition and have that be that, you know what I mean, and then never explore it again and only explore it from the perspective of the two main characters, and that's it. But she's like, no, you know what, that's boring. Like, why would I do that? Like, I'll use this and show a different side of this, or, you know, I'll have this brother turn this other brother into a vampire, and that's fine for the one brother's story, but it's like, well, what about the other brother? Like, how about he saw this thing? You know, like, I just appreciate that how she's constantly, like, sort of circling the same things over and over again, but from different sides, so that you really feel like you have a good grasp on everything that's going on in the world at the time, you know what I mean?
And I also feel like the idea of, like, choice being taken away was, like, from Sebastian, was, like, it left a scar on him to the point where, like, he had the chance to go back in time to bring his sisters back, but then he's like, I'm not going to take away the choice from his brothers. He has to find Conrad, talk to Nikolai and Murdoch, and see if that's what they want to do. And, like, I think it's really telling of his character, like, how different he is from Nikolai. Not that Nikolai was a bad character, but it was just, like, he, like, believes in the value of choice. And I just think, obviously, it's from his own past and his own, like, situation, like, everything that happened, but I also felt like he's different than Nikolai in that sense, because I feel like if Nikolai had the key, I felt like he would have went back in time and, like, not even, like, a thought to save his family, because that's what he thought he was doing when he turned them all, was saving his family.
Probably because he feels like the protector, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have the same role in the family.
True, and he is the eldest brother.
Yeah, exactly. So, to answer your question, how did we feel about their meeting? I liked that Sebastian doesn't forgive him right away. Like, it's a process. Like, they see each other a couple times, and then at one point in the book, like, they actually have a conversation about it, mostly because Sebastian needs his help understanding Kaderin. But I liked that it wasn't, like, instant or whatever.
I agree.
It was realistic. And even, like, I would say that by the end of the book, I'm not 100% convinced that they've fully gotten over what happened. And I appreciate that. Like, it's when it's something that's lasted, like, hundreds of years, you know, a grudge that's lasted so long for important, real reasons, then I feel like it's not gonna just go away like that.
No, I totally agree. And, like, I like Kresley Cole's, I just like that, as you said, it's not something that's solved in, like, a book. It's a grudge, like you said. It's, like, I don't know, I think it was, like, 300 years. I forgot how old Sebastian was. Anyways, like it's just a long time. And I like that it wasn't just, like, a tie a bow and it's perfect between them, because they still have other brothers that they still need to reconcile with. And it's just, like, it's, like, I don't know. I love how she took that situation and, like, worked it into the story, because I felt like forgiveness is such a big thing, I feel like, in our lives as well. Reading about it and experiencing it with these types of characters in this situation is just, it makes it more real and make the characters more relatable, because as I already said, like, forgiveness is a big thing in all humans.
Yeah, and I mean, forgiveness is, you know, to go back to, like, who's the monster in this book, like, is sort of a monster in and of itself, or, I mean, maybe not forgiveness, but, you know, Kaderin has to forgive Sebastian for being a freaking vampire, you know what I mean? Like, she has to, you know, you have to sort of forgive what happened in a way, and then for him it's the same. Like, I don't know, I'm not making sense, but yeah.
No, I get it. Like, he has to forgive what happened to him, and he has to forgive Nikolai for taking his choice away, which choice is something he, as we know, like he really values. So, oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about this. Sorry, I'm jumping. If you're still continuing with Nikolai and Sebastian.
No. Go ahead.
My question, guys, Reagan, how'd you guys deal with her reveal? About
Wait, what was her reveal?
About her like berserker that apparently is supposed to return.
Oh, I'm very
Wait, what? Wait.
No, remember when Reagan was helping Kaderin with like the first test, and like she's driving the snowmobile, and like she's talking like about how Nick said Reagan's berserker is coming back, and like he's gonna be making an appearance back soon, and like he basically always dies every time they consummate their relationship. He dies right after. So yeah, so she's trying to avoid being back in New Orleans because she's like, I don't wanna watch him die again.
I thought it said that he comes back whenever there's a accession that's coming.
Oh, I don't know.
Like every accession he comes back.
Oh, okay, then yeah.
In
so
a
then
different
I
form.
think, because yeah, she said that he only came back 3 or 4 times. So yeah, it could be that.
I think what is he then?
He's a berserker.
He's not,
I mean, we don't know yet.
So he's just someone that just comes back.
Yeah,
That
is. He's like a soul that just keeps on being
like reincarnated.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I understood it. I don't know.
No, yeah,
I'm very intrigued.
I think that's what they implied. I just love Reagan. I just think her character is just so funny.
Is it Reagan or Regan?
I don't know. That's a question I have.
Reagan, I think.
I say Reagan.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how'd you guys feel about that situation?
Intrigued.
Okay.
Give me more. That's why I thought she was the next book.
Oh,
well, not the 4th book, but the 5th book, because she's a lot in Sebastian's book, and then she's a lot in Bowen's book. So I really thought she was going to be next.
A lot has to happen before her book happens.
So how further down is she?
She's like book 10 or 11.
Oh my god.
So a lot happened.
Yeah,
then.
no, a lot needs to happen because, like, I don't know, it's great. Like, her story is so good. Because you all know I love reincarnation. So, like, this story of, like, her and, what's his name? Aiden?
He has a name?
I'm trying to pretend like I didn't read it, but yeah, his name's Aiden, okay? Anyways.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, he isn't that in the next book, though, that we know that?
No, I think, Reagan touches upon it when, like, or Kaderin touches upon it when they were, like, driving, like, trying to escape. And then, like,
that whole scene was so funny.
Right?
I'm just, like, Reagan singing the same song over and over again with, like, her disco boots, whatever the frick that was. She's so funny.
Wait, was she wearing disco boots? I think you might be talking about that scene.
No.
It was that scene, I think.
Oh, okay.
It was.
Okay.
She's wearing, like, disco boots.
But yeah. Anyways, so, I mean, I'm happy that you guys are intrigued because her book was the reason why I really wanted to jump back into the series after book 1. Or, I guess, book 2. Hunger Like No Other. After I finished that book, I stopped reading any of the books because I was like, yeah, no. Not for me. But then I read the synopsis for Reagan's book and I was like, yep, back in. Would you like to switch places with any of the characters? But I felt like, I don't know, what do you guys think? Would you like to switch places with any of the characters?
No.
Yeah, I don't think I could do the competition if I was Kaderin.
It seems like too much work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we'll see, maybe the next book, but no, not in this one.
Unless I switch characters with a nymph, because then I get, like, all the characters.
Yeah. I love how it's mentioned at some point, like, Kaderin goes back to, like, her London flat, and she's like, he literally moved in.
He did, man.
Like, Sebastian has just moved in, his toothbrush is there, his, like, clothes.
His razor.
I thought that was adorable.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any quotes that you'd like to share?
These books are not very quotable. That's one thing I've noticed.
Yeah?
No, I didn't get any for this one.
Me either. Like, there's not much that, like, jumps out. Like, it would be mostly, like, funny moments for me.
I really like that scene with Nyx where Nikolai missed Nikolai Mist and Nyx were talking. Like, I thought that part was so funny when they were trying to figure out where Sebastian was. Like, that's one scene that I loved.
I also love that they call Nyx, like, knucking futz.
Fuck Nyx.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this poor girl. But yeah.
I hope she gets a book. I really do.
Same.
I would love to read more
Me
about her.
Me too. Guys, I love Nyx. And I think she deserves a happily ever after. But can I also say, like, seeing a little snippet of Fury, I'm like, I actually don't know if I like her. So, like, I don't really care if she gets a book. Yeah.
I'm not intrigued to read about her.
I don't know enough yet to know if I would want Fury to get a book.
I don't know. I just like the way they talk about her. I guess, like, I get it. She's old school. She's been alive for, I don't know how many thousands of years. But, like, yeah, I don't know if I really care for her book. I don't even care.
Okay, question. Spoilery question. Does Fury ever come back?
Not that I know of. Not yet. So, like, if she stays in the water, that's fine with me.
That's so surprising, though, because ever since she was mentioned in book 1, I could have sworn it was, like, preparing you for her to come back. Yeah. So it's surprising to me that you say 20 books in, she still has not come back. Maybe it's, like, the big finale.
20 books in.
What do you mean?
It's not 20 books in.
I mean, it's 19 books.
Oh, whatever.
Is it really 19 books?
I think Monroe's was supposed to be 19.
19?
I think so.
Which is so weird because recently I've like stumbled upon like 3 if not 4 books with like a competition type of plot, and I'm like, what is going on here? Why is everyone writing competitions book? I don't even like them. Why am I reading them? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're reading them so you can get to Lothair. I just hope I'm not hyping this guy up so much so you guys don't enjoy his book. I'm so nervous when you get to that book.
Seff, it better be amazing.
Shut up! Don't say that as.
You're canceled if not.
Okay, I did have a quote though. I did find a quote that I really liked. So this quote is about Sebastian, like his inner thoughts and all of that. Okay. So, all the choices he'd made to direct his life and all the choices that had been taken from him had conspired to bring her to him. His endless years at the castle, though he'd been alone and weary, had been a worthy sacrifice to have her. Sebastian was meant to call her his own, the good and the bad. She'd been made for him and he for her. Like, I love when he realized that, wait, all that suffering and all that pain and all that hating on himself was worth it.
Which is another theme in this series so far. It's like they've all of these characters have endured like so much pain, and ultimately it's always well, you know what, it was worth it for this moment. And even if I don't get any more of this, it was worth it for this one moment, you know?
But I also think for Sebastian in itself, he was so suicidal. And it's like...
Oh, yeah.
So I think him finally realizing that all that pain that he had suffered and all, like, that hate he subjected himself to was worth it because he found his other half. He found his equal. And despite everything, despite her hating him... Because I don't think at that point she was, like, you know, all for Sebastian. It was just, like, he doesn't care because finally having her in his grasp was, like, that was that meaning for him. Like, his life had meaning now. But, yeah, I just love that guy. All right, time to rate our characters.
So, we've read 3, right? It's 3?
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like we've read...
Same. For some reason, I mean, I have read 4, but it feels like...
more, and I think it's because of how many characters are involved in each book. So I think I'm gonna have to go with Lachlan.
Wait, starting from the bottom or from the top?
From the top.
So from number 1,
right?
Lachlan is your number 1?
Yeah, right now he's my number 1.
What?
Yeah.
This is a plot twist. What?
Lachlan.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm gonna say, you know how you say you're a vampire girl? I think I'm a werewolf girl. I am.
Well, then you might like the next
book.
book.
The next book is so
good.
Yeah, I really hope I like the next book. So it's gonna be Lachlan. It's gonna be...
If you put my man Nikolai at the bottom, we are not on speaking terms.
No. It's Lachlan, Nikolai, and then it's Sebastian.
Okay.
Really?
So, yeah. But Nikolai and Lachlan, they're like real close. But Lachlan for sure. Number 1.
Okay, for me, I think personally it would be Sebastian, Nikolai, and then Lachlan. Because I like Sebastian's character.
we're all different, because for me it'd be Nikolai, Sebastian, Lachlan.
At least we're not fighting.
Well,
men
no
right
one's
now.
fighting over anyone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the females? How are you going to rank them with characters? The one that you like the most to the one that you like the least, or you didn't connect with as much?
Mist, Kaderin, Emma.
I think Mist is the first, and I don't know. They're both. I don't know. Mist, yeah, Kaderin, and then Emma. I want to say.
See, mine is Kaderin, Mist, and then Emma.
Really?
Yeah. Which is shocking to me, because I remember my first review for this book was Kaderin. I didn't like how nasty she was to Sebastian, but now I'm like, I think I'm seeing it with a different lens. I think, as we already, like, I feel like it's a common, like, running theme with every book that we've read in this podcast, is that we change as readers, and our perspective changes, and, like, our likes and dislikes change as well. And I think for this book, I think Kaderin, like, had to grow as a character as well. So I think I liked her more in my second time reading the book. So she's number one for me, Mist, and then Emma.
Yeah, that's what's so fun about rereading, especially in the case of, like, a big series like that.
Yeah.
And this is why we would love at one point to reread all the Lisa Kleypas books. At least Seff and I don't know if S will join us maybe for some of the books.
Have
But
to.
she's never read them before. Seff and I have read all of them.
You have to read Lisa Kleypas with us.
Yeah, but you guys will let us know if you want that, because since we've read all of them, it'd be fun to, like, go back and reread.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll be able to, do a bit of a dive deep into those books, since it's
And
not
maybe
the first time,
our favorites might change. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, if the day I say that St. Vincent is not my favorite is the day that the world is ending.
I love St. Vincent. But Westcliff, I think, will forever be my number one. I don't know what about him.
You're literally the only... S has no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, sorry.
Right now, but you're literally the only person I know that has read all Lisa Kleypas's books and prefers Westcliff.
I love his character. I think because he reminds me so much of Mr. Darcy. And, like, It Happened One Autumn. Is that their book? Yeah. Literally reminds me of Pride and Prejudice. And I don't know, I just loved Westcliff. He's such a Darcy.
Wait, question. Since I read the Zero book.
Again, the Magic. S has read Again, the Magic. Yeah.
Is he the brother?
Yeah, he's the brother.
Okay, I wasn't...
Oh, no.
I was like, yeah, when I first read that and I heard that he has the next book, I was just like,
He's not the next book.
I'll still read it because I want to know, if that would change.
Okay. I do love Sebastian, though. I think he's really close to being my number one.
Sebastian St. Vincent is my one and only. My one and only. No one beats him for me.
I love him, though.
Anyways.
Sebastian is great. Sebastian St. Vincent.
So let us know if you want us to do that. We would love to reread all of Lisa Kleypas's books, because, to be honest, they're some of the best books out there. So why not?
Yeah. On that note, are we ending?
Yeah, do we have anything else to say?
No.
I have a note that just reads, well, would you look at that? The plague again.
Oh,
The plague has been mentioned in every single book that we've read so far. Even Slow Heat had, like, a plague-like disease that killed all the women.
Oh my gosh, it does. It kills all the females.
In the time of the coronavirus, this is not what we want to read about.
Oh, okay. So I stand corrected. So I thought that she didn't fully say that she loved Sebastian until after she got her sisters, but that was a lie. And I have a quote to prove it, because she's like, just like when they were just about to go save her sisters, she tells him, "I love you." And then he's like, "I'll never tire of hearing that." He nuzzled her ear and rasped against it. "Maybe one day you'll come to love me as much as I do you." She frowned and pushed up on his shoulders. "I happen to adore you, vampire." Her hands laced around his neck, and she twined her fingers in his hair. "As a matter of fact, I love you more." And I'm like, oh gosh. Okay, so you do love him. So that was before she got to save her sisters. So I stand corrected. I'm like, I think it was like amazing for her, like to see her journey of love, because she literally spent thousands of years without feeling anything, and then all of a sudden a vampire comes barreling into her life.
It's all like hitting her at once.
Yeah, sure.
Like, just imagine not having felt anything, nothing, just being like a blank slate for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then suddenly you meet a person that just brings it out of you. Like, it would take you a while to get used to that person, because that's scary as fuck, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought it was a cute I love you.
Yeah. No, it was. I love you more.
But then it just reminds me of like Rapunzel and Gothel and Tangled. I love you more.
What?
And then she's like, and then Mother Gothel's like, I love you most. And then I'm like, okay.
She's the most evil out of all Disney mothers, I would say.
But then you got Uncle Scar, and Uncle Scar.
Well, she's not really the mother. But
Uncle Scar was a pretty bad, like, adult figure.
Uncle Scar was sexy.
Marge. He literally killed Mufasa.
Who cares about Mufasa? Everyone's like, Mufasa died. I'm like, Scar is hot. This is why I'm not a Disney person, alright? I didn't grow up with them.
Okay, but his chosen one, what's his name? Kovu. Kovu was hot AF.
Kovu is literally Kylo Ren.
Yeah, that was literally Raylo before Raylo.
Period. Have you seen that one, S? The Lion King 2?
I think I have, years ago.
Oh, I literally just rewatched it on the weekend, and I'm like, yes. I was a Raylo before I knew it.
Yeah. I mean, I've only seen it, like, recently, but as I was watching it, I was really taken aback by how similar it is to Raylo.
Yo, and I love how horny Kovu was. He literally was like, we can start a pride of our own. And, like, he does it in, like, such a sultry voice. I'm like, what, boy? Why do I find a lion so hot?
He got that raspy voice, too.
Yeah. Anyways, this is not what we were talking about.
That was a big tangent. Down Disneyland. I don't know why. Okay, who's ending this? I was gonna say it's a feat trying to, like, end this podcast every week.
I know, we suck at it. We should probably write a script out. That would be easy.
We probably should. Okay, go ahead. I sense that you can do this.
All right, you sense it? All right.
Yes, you got it. You got it.
So that has been another episode of Romancing the Monsters with No Rest for the Wicked by Kresley. What the hell did I just say?
No, she had it. You had it.
I said
Go,
Wicked.
you had it.
What the heck is Wicked?
Oh.
The titles in this series are so confusing.
I know. I get them confused.
They are, huh?
Don't even ask me the title of Bowen's book. What is it?
What is it? Something deeds? Dark deeds?
Wicked deeds on a winter's night? On a dark winter's night?
See, I thought it was Dark Deeds on a Winter Night. Hold on. I'm going to need to say it, so let me find it.
No, I think it's Wicked Deeds. Am I wrong?
I think it's Wicked Deeds.
Isn't it Dark Deeds?
No, I think it's Dark Night or something for the... I don't know. It's Wicked Deeds on a Winter's Night. A hunger like no other, no rest for the wicked. Wicked Deeds on a Winter's Night. And then number 4 is Dark Needs at Night's Edge.
Why is she using the same words in titles? Like Wicked Deeds, No Rest for the Wicked, and then Dark... I don't know what the...
Dark Needs at Night's Edge. And then number 5 is Dark Desires After Dusk.
Like, why is she using all the same words? This is so confusing.
So I have a question. Do the titles match the story to you guys? Do you read the story and be like, oh, like, I get the title?
Not really. No Rest for the Wicked. They rested.
Yeah, I didn't get that one.
They rested. Like, they slept.
They rested.
And they're not wicked.
To answer your question, S, I don't think they do. But, like, I mean, obviously, like, the ones that are just, like, Lothair, yeah. McReeve, yes.
Oh, yeah, and then the titles get super short at some point. I don't know if people were confused and she had to start, like, making the titles shorter. I mean, No Hunger, like, no...
A Hunger Like No Other?
A Hunger Like No Other.
A Hunger Like No Other makes sense. I feel. The Warlord Once Forever also makes sense. No Rest for the Wicked doesn't. And then the 4th one doesn't either, I don't think.
All right, that's been me trying to stall closing this episode. All right. So that has been another episode of Romancing the Monsters with No Rest for the Wicked by Kresley Cole. See, I said Wicked again. What the hell is that? Okay, one more time. I've got it. I feel it. So that has been another episode of Romancing the Monsters with No Rest for the Wicked by Kresley Cole. We hope you enjoyed our discussion about the vampires and the Valkyrie. Join us next week as we talk about The Beast of Beswick by Emily Howard.
Our first historical!
Yeah, our first historical! And we know S isn't really a historical reader, so we're excited to see how she feels about it.
We shall see.
It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Yes. And our hero is scarred, and I'm hoping for some good angst. I haven't read it yet, so I'm hoping for really good angst.
Is he mean? I hope he's
know.
mean.
I actually don't. I think I read the synopsis like months ago, and I haven't read it since. So I'm excited because I love Beauty and the Beast retelling, so I'm here for it.
You can find us on Twitter at the RTM Pod, or on Instagram at Romancing the Monsters Podcast, or you can email us at romancingthemonsterspodcast@gmail.com. You can find me at Foes and Lovers on both Twitter and Instagram.
And you can find me at But This Book on Twitter and Instagram.
And you can find me, Seff, on both Twitter and Instagram at Pose.
Pose. This is awesome.
Pose with hose.
I was literally gonna do pros before hose, but then that was taken and I was so mad. Okay. And you can find me, Seff, on both Twitter and Instagram at Pros with Woes.
Awesome.